In this video, I want to talk about how you can save for a large expense without going into debt and without dipping into your emergency fund. And this came up actually in my personal life, okay? So my wife and I, we need to get a new roof for our house, which really sucks. The best quote we got was $15,000. Ooh. The good news is this is not an emergency where we need to do it today. So it needs to happen probably in the next 1 to 3 years. And now that we know that, it's like, okay, we need to plan for this now because one, we do not want to go into debt for this because $15,000 is a ton. And sure, we could probably find some zero interest agreement with the people that are doing it or their financing company for 12 months or 18 months. But debt is still debt, even if there's no interest. We still owe people money. I don't want to do that. And we definitely don't want to tap into our savings, right? Because we're sort of building up. We have an emergency fund. We have, retirement accounts. We have just general investing accounts, and we don't want to touch those. We just want to kind of keep them going. So hopefully what I'm going to share about what we're doing helps you in your personal finances for big expenses, because let's be honest, big expenses come up seemingly all the time, right? And it's very frustrating, and it completely derails people from the financial goals that they're trying to reach for themselves. And it puts people into debt further. It gets into people's savings, and an expense like $15,000 could just set you back months and years, okay, if you're not ready for it. So here's what we're doing, okay? And it's not just the roof, by the way. So we've had a lot of other life things that have been happening. So for example, we recently went from 1 kid to 2 kids about 5 months ago, and that immediately, she just went into daycare. So immediately our daycare expense doubled overnight. Ooh, right? That's pretty stressful. We're also set up her education account, so we're contributing money towards her future education going to college. And it doesn't have to just be college, it could be any sort of education expense item, but that's not for this video. So we've had a lot of new expenses popping up. I simply just started doing more aggressively what I've been showing people to do in their own personal finances. So for a little more context, my name's Chris. I've been an accountant for 10 years, and I help people with their personal finances, things like paying down their debt faster, building their wealth more efficiently, just starting a budget if they've never budgeted before. And I've been budgeting for about that same time frame, the 10 years, okay? So I've been budgeting around that time, and over time, the way I've been budgeting has changed. So let me just go over that quickly. The first sort of way I was budgeting was just knowing how much money was in my bank account, okay? And that's like very embarrassing for me to even say now, because it was in my early to mid 20s. I went to school for accounting. I was supposed to be this guy with numbers and finances. And to make a long story short, the sale of this car that I'm driving in was actually delayed because I didn't know how much was in my checking account. I could not give them the proper check at the time they needed it to make this happen, and it was super embarrassing. And that was my like, oh hell no moment, okay? I was like, no, I need to get a better grip on this. So the first thing that I did for budgeting was just how much money is in my bank account, like to the nearest like $500, okay? And then from there, it sort of progressed to, well, I should probably know if I am, making more money or losing money in my bank account every month. So like, at that time I had not as many obligations. So the account, the checking account was growing and more money was going into it. And then it's like, okay, that's great and all, but I should probably be breaking this down by expense category to figure out where I'm actually spending my money. So like, I know I'm making more money than I'm spending, but like, where is it going? And is it like optimized towards what is a priority for my life? So then I started categorizing it by expense category, okay? And it turned into this obsession of mine of always wanting to understand what was happening with my finances, always understand where every dollar was going. To be very honest, so the budgeting template that I help people with in their personal finances, it's down in the description of this video, by the way, if you're interested. But the thing that I was using for budgeting was trash compared to what I have now, okay? So it was basically just a rinky-dinky spreadsheet, and I manually typed everything in. There was no like fancy stuff going on. It was just basically a way for me to just track it and understand where everything was going on a month-to-month basis. The version I have now is way, way better, and it's so much more helpful. But as time progressed, it just became second nature, and I've slowly regressed, over the last 10 years in terms of like how intense I've been in my personal finances to nowadays, or recently, it was just sort of back to like the higher level picture of how much money is coming in, where is it going, and how much money can we put towards a financial goal, and then all the extra money goes towards financial goals. Now, we could have probably been optimizing our finances way better. Maybe we could have found an extra $100, $200, $300 a month in our finances to, put towards financial goals. But we were at a point where we were always making more than we were spending. So we were in a good spot. We didn't really splurge for unnecessary things. But now, so we have all these new expenses. So the roof in a couple years, our daughter's daycare. So daycare times 2, because our son is also in daycare. And then now we have 2 kids' education savings accounts. So I went through the budget process of how I show people, okay, which is you look at your last 3 months. So I'm recording this video in September. So for me, I looked at June, July, August, variable expenses. I looked through every single transaction that went through our bank account or our credit cards, and I put them all down. I tried to chunk them up into as few expense categories as possible. So think of things like groceries, gas, utilities, variable expenses, things that you pay every single month, but the expense changes every single month. So once I had that process down, I had the June numbers, the July numbers, the August numbers, and then the spreadsheet calculates the average, and then I can see where all our money's going, what the average was. And then I can see where the money's going and if it's aligned with our priorities, because we had to find extra, few $100s a month, and that was challenging. We found areas where we were able to cut and be a little more efficient. And the most important part of the strategy is not just saying, okay, this expense category, I'd like to save, $200 a month in this expense category just because. And if there's no action, there's no accountability behind it, and you're not going to stay consistent with it, it's not going to stay true. So you need to make sure that it's something that you can actually do and you can hold yourself accountable to. That's the most important step of this. For the roof, we decided if our quote is, say, $15,000, and, obviously the company said we can't, keep this quote for years, right? It's like obvious, yeah, but let's just, we based it off of, we were going to spend about $15,000. Obviously we don't have that in one chunk, or don't want to give that in one chunk. So we decided to find $500 a month that we could save for, and we would put this in what is known as a sinking fund, okay? And basically what this means, you're just putting money aside for a future expense that it doesn't hit you in the ass later on, and that's what we need to do with the roof. $500 a month to get to $15,000 is about 30 months, okay? So it's 2.5 years, and ideally we'd like to be saving more for this. However, it's more important that we just start doing the thing, okay? And we start putting money towards it, because I think this is where people get stuck all the time. They have this financial goal and they try to reverse engineer back. And if we had said like, oh, we need to save $15,000 in 12 months, then we're looking at over $1,000 a month. And again, with all the other expenses increasing, it was just like not reasonable for us. So we just decided, let's just start with 500. And then if we get, bonuses at our 9-to-5s or raises, or, birthday money, whatever, we're just going to put it towards this fund, and it's probably going to happen a little faster, but let's just plan on $500 a month. So that's just quickly how we kind of think about it. And if you replace our roof for your situation and the financial goal that you're trying to reach, it's just a simple concept, because what ends up happening is been prioritizing our financial goals for years over some of our want items. And in the beginning, so 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 5 years ago, when we became debt-free except for our mortgage, we were obsessed with just trying to reach the financial goal faster. And because of that, that's how we were able to sort of make all these plans and just like super focused in on our finances, okay? So you guys can do the exact same thing. It's just starting with, if you've never budgeted before, especially, or if you don't budget consistently, you got to do the budget. You got to do the 3-month look back strategy that I was talking about. The people that I'm working with are finding hundreds of dollars a month, and that's the average, okay? And then once applied to their debt, it's saving them thousands of dollars on interest and years on average of being in debt, okay? So they're becoming debt-free years earlier just by $100, $200, $300 extra a month that they're applying towards their debt. And it's just money that they found in their budget that they didn't even know that they were spending on stuff. It's not like they got a promotion or something and just put all that money towards that, or they had an extra side hustle that they did. It's money that they just found in their budget. So even if you're not in a situation where you can save an extra $500 a month like we can, it's not the point, okay? Don't focus on the dollar amount, but focus on, okay, so in my situation, it's the roof, but what's your situation? Focus on that situation. Reverse engineer a way of, what do I need to do monthly to get to this goal in X time frame? That's how you have to think about it. So the long-term goal for us is we want to save for a roof. That sounds intimidating, $15,000. But when you chunk it up into smaller term goals, it's how much do I need to save per month? And then it's, okay, I need to look at our finances a little closer, because we've not been slacking, but we haven't been as intentional and haven't optimized everything the last maybe year or two, just because we've been making more than we've been spending, and we're just really happy with how everything's going. But a short-term goal is like, okay, let's dive into the finances, do the 3-month look back. And then another short-term goal is how much do we need to be saving or putting towards this sinking fund for our roof? And then for how many months do I need to be doing that? And then this long-term goal that we have just gets chunked up into shorter-term goals. And it's just such an easy way to think about it, because again, I think too many people they see the long-term goal, they see how valuable that is, and then they don't know how to get there because they're just seeing one thing of, oh my God, this is so intimidating. How do I do this? So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I'm uploading daily videos onto YouTube about all things personal finances. So let me know down in the comments what kind of topics you'd like me to cover next, and I will see you in the next one.